Hey friend, today we are talking about fitness after 40 and also the things that we wish we would have known and done when we were in our 20s and 30s.
Lego. Halala.
Welcome back, friends, to the Freedom Parent Podcast. I'm Sam.
I'm Harold.
And we are here today to talk about fitness after 40, but also preventative and the things that we wish we would have known and done before we were 40, right?
Well, I'm not 40 yet, but
What? Yes, you
so I'll help you through this.
I'll let everyone know all the time that you are 4 years older than me.
Well, you want to spread lies, you can spread lies.
If I'm going to spread a lie, I'm going to go up to 5.
Fitness over 40.
Fitness over 40. Why are we talking about this today? HP?
Well, I think because we've been having our own experiences in it.
Oh, yeah.
And
it's fun.
been frustrating. And I don't think if we were as evolved in personal development and in our relationship and all the above, that we probably would have threw in the towel.
One or two things would have happened for me. I probably have more days laying in bed crying about it and or taking a sledgehammer to the scale.
Yeah.
A year ago, I might have.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. It's like, where do you start with this?
Well, I think it's funny too. People might be thinking, well, gosh, Sam, if you're frustrated with your fitness, then like, why should we even be listening to you? Well, I am, but I'm not. Like at the same time.
Yeah.
For me, it's because of past perceptions too of what I identified as success in my fitness.
I was going to say, what your ideal is.
You said it, I don't know, a few months back. You're like, man, your emotions and you feeling successful in your health is really tied to that scale. You said it almost like verbatim. It's stuck in my head. I was like, God, he's right. I really have a specific number, 110 pounds, because I'm very short also. That's what keeps floating through my head. And it was crazy, but I was like,
Yeah. That's why I told you the other day in the gym. I said, that's not going to be your number if you're looking for a number anymore based off of the composition you're trying to create now.
Mm-hmm. Well, and the fact is we've been extremely consistent with weightlifting for a year now.
We just hit it. Yeah, we just hit a year. And I think only half of that time we were consistent, honestly, because we kind of do the
ramp up. We're a slow ramp up.
Yeah,
both
we
you
ramp
and
up.
I.
We're okay with the long journey, just like we built our business. We didn't go the fast way.
It takes a long time to build trust with us. And even being retired personal trainers, we've always had a level of fitness in our lives. But to be honest, one of the things that we have always struggled with is just hitting the weights consistently, 4 or 5 days a week.
Yeah.
And we've always gone
We've always been
out.
health conscious. We always did hiking or we did whatever. We do workouts at the house.
Yeah.
The kids, our kids do perfect lunges. I'm proud of that. Even down to the 7-year-old.
Exceptional push-ups.
Yep.
Our 7-year-old, he can do. He gets sloppy after 10, but for 10,
I'm gonna tell him you said that.
Stellan, I love you, but we'll work on that later. But I don't tell him that. I don't tell him they're sloppy. I tell him like, man, that's great.
Yeah.
Because I'm smarter than that.
So you lied to him. So you're a liar?
No, I'm encouraging my kid.
Oh, okay.
Not deflating him. But, okay, wait, I lost the thought. I know there was a thought, and then we went off on a tangent.
What were we talking about?
Oh, frustration. And all that comes from, too, is because, in our 20s and 30s, things came easier to us.
Oh, my goodness. We didn't even realize it.
No, I'm gonna issue a public apology to all our former personal training clients that came to our gym or ever worked with me. If you ever noticed that I didn't believe you when you came to me in your late 30s and early 40s or beyond, and you said, Sam, it's just different. It's harder after a certain age. I'll be honest. I did a little eye roll in my mind because I really just kind of thought, I was like, yeah, no. I'm like, if you work out and you eat right, your body's going to change. Yes and no, right?
Yeah. But I will say, though, that we did, like, our exercise the last couple of years with us moving. Let me insert excuses. But I'm aware of it. But we moved twice in 1 year, and we right in the book. I was busy having babies, having more kids.
You were busy having babies. I'm so glad babies. You were so busy.
And I strive for excellence in everything I do. So anyway,
stop.
Adjusting to a new state. Let me think of some more excuses. You got any more excuses we can throw in there?
I had so many babies.
Yeah. No. So, that our exercise part of it got a little derailed. Like I said, we always did something, but it wasn't anything that really moved the dial forward. It was more as like a management type of thing. And that's only good for so long. But what we did, because we built healthy habits. So if you're listening and you have healthy habits in your 20s or your 30s, those healthy habits will carry you into your 40s, even if you're not, because we weren't consistent in our workouts and stuff like that. Our fitness wasn't leveled up. It was more in a management maintenance, but our healthy habits were, if I had to compare it to the rest of the country,
we had healthy habits.
It was an 8 out of 10.
And we valued movement. So even though we weren't hitting the weights as consistently as we are now, we definitely took joy in the season of, like, we moved from Louisiana, flat, it's below sea level. Yeah. And we loved being outside we moved to Arizona. There's mountains everywhere. We hiked so much.
Right.
Those first few years that we moved here, So, and that was fitness, but it wasn't specific to certain goals that we have now and for the rest of our lives too.
Yeah. And that's the thing when you get into your 40s is when you start losing that muscle mass, especially well, I know specifically to a guy because that's what I research. But if you go into it under the gun, you're definitely going uphill.
Yeah.
And that's one thing is I had realized. So my goal specifically, to give you an idea, was I want to put on muscle mass, because I said, well, if I put on more muscle, I know it's going to burn more fat at rest. Mm-hmm. And that used to be easy and quick. And it still, was quicker. I mean, wasn't that painful as I'm going through this, but compared to a decade ago, oh my goodness. Mm. I embraced patience. Let's just say that. Like what I could have did in 3 months, it's taken me 7 months, 8 months. And part of that also is because of dealing with injuries too.
Oh gosh.
So this older body working through the injuries. And in the past though, I would have just sat on the bench.
Yeah, because actually this has been probably more frequently occurring. And I have to say, there's been times in the past where it was pretty debilitating, for you, but it wasn't as frequent as I feel like it is now, where it's like, I've seen you, I've lost count how many times we wake up in the morning, you poor thing, and it's like, oh, I can't move this.
Yeah.
Or I can't move that. And you having to work through discerning, because the pain is always worse in the morning too. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you have that pain that, like, if I can just get moving, like literally yesterday morning, I had to run you a hot bath. So you could see if you could work through, you poor thing. I laugh, but it's not funny.
Yeah.
It's not. But you got up, you went to your chiropractor appointment, you went to the gym today, and you're not doing it in an ignorant way either. Like,
no, and I modified what I did today. Yeah. They were all doing, because we work in pods of groups. So if you're working at a gym in group training or something like that, don't be afraid to say, hey, they had something set up. I was like, hey, I ain't doing that today. And they're like, what's up? And I was like,
yes,
my SI's hurting.
There's
and I saw
things
the
they just know now
yesterday.
that you're not doing.
And they're like, oh, cool. All right, Harold, do sliders or do whatever. I'm like, cool, got it. And they come and checked on me. And
that's what a good trainer does. A good trainer can modify
and accommodate you.
Yes, for where you're at in this season of fitness. Yeah.
Yeah. So you work around it. But I think what I want to really impress upon people listening, because I know I'm not the only one who has, and I'm sure there's people who have worse injuries or pain or whatever. Mine were mostly because of just abuse in athletics and contact sports and wrecking ATVs and bikes and falling out of trees and
Yeah.
getting hit in the head with
So
bar stools.
many,
And
which
just all-
I didn't see any of these things, thank God. Like,
So
I wasn't
it's
there
like-
to witness that season.
It's here. And I know other people have that. And we're all waiting for that ideal moment for everything to feel like we were when we were a teenager before we can go work out. And I'm telling you, you're going to be waiting a long time, and you probably have for years with your excuses, the same way I was working with my excuses. And it's just, let me work with what I got. We'll work around it. Or why is that hurting? Or why is that the way it is? Because honestly, in my situation, like, it's funny, like some people, I had a friend they couldn't work out, they said, because of their shoulder. I'm like, you can't do squats? I could tell you 100 things you can do. Like, that's just an excuse. And I've been there too. So I'm not just pointing the finger, pointing
And
back
sometimes
at myself.
when you can't do what you think you want to do, you have to do what you know you need to do too.
Yeah. Well,
If you really value fitness and health,
Yeah. So what I realized, though, and you may realize too, is that's when you start putting together a team. So I realized, like, some of my injuries that I had, that wasn't even the source. Like, the source was because I had, for instance, like the neck issues I've been having and the cervical vertigo that I had. And let me just throw all my medical stuff out there, right? But issues that I had were because I had some weak muscles in the posterior chain up in this area, behind my shoulder, scapular, all that, levator, all that. But that was weak. So I hired people in a team, and I realized, it was just some simple exercises, and it's starting to correct the other problems. Whereas most people would just be like, that's just the way it is.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't do it because, when what I'm saying is, it could be a simple solution that requires work.
Yeah.
But a simple solution to get you back in the game.
100%.
I feel like I'm rambling right now.
No, you're not actually. For once, you're not rambling. No.
Dang.
No, I love you. I'm not messing with you. I promise. The team is so important, and it's things that you played with here and there in the past, but you were not consistent with, like the chiropractor, massage therapy. You didn't start doing that up until a couple of years ago.
I went and to your point is, I would go just to solve immediate pain resolution, just to get me back to functioning normal. Now I put together a team to get me to function beyond towards my ideal. Yes.
Yes. That's it's the ongoing. It's like so funny. I remember when we started seeing a chiropractor, shout out to Scott Oliphant and Dr. Failer back in Mandeville. They were awesome and still are. But I remember someone saying, like, it's similar to, I've heard people say this about building muscle and lifting weights too. Once you start going, you have to keep going. And people have said this in regards to lifting weights. Once you start building muscle, you have to keep building muscle. Or this is completely false, because the physiology is totally different. But they're like, that muscle is just going to turn into fat. No. Muscle is muscle. Fat is fat. Both expand. Both can decrease. So anyway, I'm like, yeah, well, why wouldn't you continue seeing a masseuse or a chiropractor or a naturopath, like building your team of people that keep you going and living optimally? Don't you plan on continuing to go to the dentist? I don't know. Once you go to the dentist, don't you typically keep going? I'm like, yeah, okay. Once you start taking a multivitamin, don't you continue typically taking a multivitamin or whatever supplements you need? Whole nother topic on that, supplementation, but that we really need to touch on, because that's been very important for us. But the team is so important. And also the circle of people. Like, we have so many friends, and colleagues and different people that we can look at, and we see them on social media, our friends. And I'm like, and they inspire us. We're like, dang, some of them are in their 30s and maybe even early 20s. But a lot of our fitness friends are in same age as us. Some of them are older. One of our mentors, he's like a cyclist and just incredible shape for his age. I think he's maybe approaching 60. Know. And then, we've got our friends, a couple shout outs. We have Molly McKinney and Jackie and Kenneth and Johnny and Brant and who else? We've got so many people. I'm going to
why
leave
I'm not
people out, so
listing no
don't get
names.
offended. But not only that, though, but they encourage us too. So like you've got the team within the team. You've got the team of people that put poor Humpty Dumpty back together again over here, but are also helping you get to the root of some issues. And then we've got, our fit friends, people that are steps ahead of us even, and that's just like, that's always kind of like our guide too. It's like, this is what life looks like. Like the human body is a gift. Your body's a gift and it can do incredible things. Like even if you are sitting here listening to us today, feeling like you're so far away from where you want to be, or you could be, God, your body is incredible. It wants to be healthy. And it's our job to simply put it in an environment. And I think of it like a diamond. Without pressure, there is no diamond. So you need to be able to handle the pressure of shaping and molding yourself into that diamond, into what you see and know could be, your health and fitness, what it should be like. But yeah.
100%.
So important.
I think the other thing too is to understand, is to have patience. Things aren't going to happen as fast. And I think it's naive or ignorance or just plain foolish to believe. And I felt this way too. I had a conversation with myself, Sam, whoever would listen. Why is this not moving? Like I'm doing this. And it's like, well, you kind of been not dialed in for 3-4 years, but yet you want to be for 3-4 years. That's what, 3, 6, 9, 12, 13, 1,400 days. You've been kind of dialed in.
Yeah.
Right. So now all of a sudden you're 14 days, 30 days,
4 days.
No, I'll even give them 90 days, and you're 90 days versus 1,400.
Yeah.
Well, where does that even, like, why? You need to be patient.
Yeah. Well, you have this conversation with me a lot because from my experience as a personal trainer, from my 20s and my 30s, and then my experience with doing a few fitness competitions, like I learned the tricks. Like I knew how to make my body drop 4 to 5 pounds in a matter of 5 to 7 days. In several different methods, I could do it. But let me say this, the goal of weight loss and the goal of building a strong, fit, lean, muscular physique are totally different. And while you could do lots of things to lose weight quickly, if your goal is long-term health and longevity and building a strong body that can, outlast many people and fight off illness and all the things, muscle is your friend. So you have these conversations with me a lot as I shift my perspective away from that, oh, you have to be this number on the scale, Sam, or otherwise you're just a failure in your health, towards body composition. And the truth is, I always forsake, I love lifting weights. It doesn't mean that I didn't lift weights, but I would forsake the goal of building the composition and that structure for the goal of just having a certain weight on a scale. So I did some damage to my body over the years. As women, you really should listen. They really need to listen to this, because I'm learning a lot about hormones now. And not just for women, but also for men, muscle is your friend. Muscle creates all these incredible metabolic processes, not to mention, like people think about how you look on the outside, and that's all great and fun, to look like, you're going to look like Thor. But what that muscle does is incredible for your health. And I have jacked up my hormones. So something I'm learning is that, one, as we age, you're going to go through hormonal changes. It is a blessing to grow old. These things are supposed to happen, but the way that your body approaches it can be made worse or better by how you treated it in the previous decades, in your 20s and 30s. So something, especially for women who have babies, at 35, your progesterone naturally starts to decline. Now, something else that also creates a rapid decline in progesterone is consistently eating low calories, depletes your body and changes your hormones, and not getting the right nutrients in your body as well. So you've tried to tell me several times, and it was just so hard for me to listen because, again, I was like, I just want it to be that size 0, to be honest. Sometimes,
but it's like people, you got to pick a goal and then that's your goal. So it's like you can't be an endurance runner and break records in a 100-meter sprint.
Yep.
Like, meaning you can't be a power lifter and run marathons. You know what I'm saying? Like, it just doesn't. So you got to like stay in the lane of which direction you're going to. I just want to be clear. That was part of what you want to run half marathons all the time, but then you want to build muscle, and then it's conflicting in the requirements nutritionally, right? Recovery signals from your brain to your body. It's just mixing, and it's confusing things.
Yeah. I was working up to running 35, 40 miles a week, but also wanting to build the muscle in my legs, and running the hills out here and everything it's definitely helped me build some strength and muscle. But 35, 40 miles a week is not going to. And there's the other thing too, the things that you find out. I wish I would have done full panel blood test to see where all my nutrient levels were at, to check my hormones, and to even see that there's, I have a genetic variant, MTHFR, and there's several different strands, and I'm not even going to go into the science because I'm still just learning about it. But the other thing is too, you might have these little variations too in your genes or your genetics, which is not an excuse, but it's information. And it's a basis off of like how you should be treating your body. And so, I'm finding out that my body also, while I can still do a half marathon a month, I probably right now, while I'm getting this corrected, should not be running 35, 40 miles a week.
Yeah, you just put it on a shelf.
I love running, but I'm also having to kind of tailor that in for the long-term goal.
Yeah.
And also getting very clear on the supplementation that I need. Like, I need very specific form of B vitamins that my body can break down. You have been really gotten serious with supplementation too. So we were never we believed in the power of supplementation, but we were not consistent with it either. Whereas now we're finding that our bodies, we have to replenish. We want to replenish at a faster pace the nutrients and the key things that our bodies need to get to the next level, right? So it's meant, we got like a whole little handful of supplements taken every day, not to mention those aminos. Oh my gosh, taking those twice a day.
Well, I was going to say if we're jumping to supplementation, but I wasn't done with consistency. Actually.
Oh, well, go ahead.
No, because I was feeling the same way and I was impatient, but I was aware enough to just call my bullshit out, that back to how many years of neglect to thinking that it's short term.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, it's like, if you can't be honest with yourself, who can you be honest with? Like when no one else is in the room, you can't be honest with yourself.
That's so good.
You got to stop lying to yourself. Like, oh, I'm doing everything. And I've been doing everything like I hear people talk about that. I've been 12 months, been doing everything like exactly right. And they only had like 20 pounds to lose or to gain whatever. It just doesn't add up. Like it just doesn't add up. But they're looking for the crutch or the special injection,
looking for
or the special cream or the special
blessing
pill,
to move on to the next
or the special magic algae or the bark from the Amazon tree or the unicorn's urine. I don't know, like whatever. Like they're looking for this special stuff that's gonna do something because the cop out is you don't want to be consistent and you have no patience and you have no discipline.
Comfortable.
And we're talking to Danny about discipline. It takes discipline. So that's why for me, my personal goal is to get down to like 11% body fat. And the reason for that is because I know at 11% on a male, you can see a six pack, well defined. So for me, that is my goal. Anything lower, you're going to lose strength. Anything higher, it's not going to hit me on my goals. So you set goals and you set metrics. And the point of me saying that is because I've been very pissed off lately because in the 40s, it's taking longer and longer. But I'll give you guys.
It's funny to see you feel like I feel often, like the past couple
I'm not the same.
coming off of having this
like
fourth baby.
Yeah.
And it's just it's a little window. It may not be the same, but
it's. But here, so for you guys,
I mean,
definitely look into like a powerful amino acid. Those have been a lifesaver for me. So I take like 15 of them a day. And it depends on the amino acid you get. A friend of mine turned me on to these, and they're just better. You absorb it better than if you eat protein. So if you eat like 20 grams of protein, your body, depending on the source, you're only going to absorb so much of the aminos, and that protein is going to get synthesized. But with the aminos, they absorb the way they, I don't know, manufacture them or whatever. They hit your bloodstream like you absorb more of the amino acids, which is the building block for muscle. So like put everything in your favor. I'm learning like in the 40s, everything I can stack in my favor. That's not like extreme.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I find the aminos, fish oil, CoQ10, do liposomal CoQ10 P plus PQ, is it? I think. Not sure. That's really the only supplementations I do. And vitamin C.
Yeah.
But I find that's been, and I do post-workout.
Yeah. The
like
post-workout
protein with creatine
with the
and
recovery
stuff like that.
shake and protein, needing to supplement with protein.
So I guess that jumps to
consistent.
Supplementation right through consistency. But
yeah, there you go. We got there.
there.
So I do all that you do, but I do methylated B vitamin. Again, you can just look up MTHFR if you want to know about that. But I do a B6 because that's supposed to help increase progesterone levels. I do zinc. And we probably could just literally take a picture of all of our supplements and post it for people. But I was not even like interested in taking a daily multi, to be honest.
Because but here's the thing with supplementation too, is people don't understand and I don't know this, like I used to know this when we owned a gym, and I was heavy on consultations with people and walking them through nutrition and all their questions. But or kind of like their gotchas, they used to try and get me. Like, so I was well versed and well prepared, well read. But it's like you need to have supplementation these days because like, and don't quote me, but like to get the same amount of vitamin C, because some people say, I can get it through Whole Foods.
That's where I was getting. That's why I didn't.
Well, how's that been working for you the last
it wasn't working.
10 years? But no, you can't, because like where one orange, say, would have gave you X amount of vitamin C, like what you need back in the 1960s or 70s, today would require, don't quote me, but 12 oranges. Yeah. Like you'd have, like it's 12-to-1 ratio because of the soil content being raped of its nutritional value and just the way that they're subsidized crops and the way they're farming. So no, it's literally not apples to apples.
Well, and not just that, but also the other things that you put in your body. So my thing was like, we did actually eat a very good amount of vegetables, whole foods. We went through that transition in my early 30s through going paleo and those things. And so we did actually eat that. I was like, I eat really good. I eat vegetables every single day, and so in my head, that's exactly what I thought. But also it's like the other things that you put in your body also affect your body's ability to take the nutrients from the good food that you eat and process it and digest it. Caffeine, alcohol, sugar, processed sugar and carbs. I mean, people don't be acting like you don't eat that. I mean, like we eat it too sometimes. I mean,
well, that's a question I used to ask. Remember, this is the thing. This is where you got to be honest with yourself too, as you're approaching your 40s or in your 40s or in your 50s, wherever you're at. All of it applies. But I think it's being honest with yourself, because I've had over 1,000 consultations in my lifetime, like health assessments, like consultations with people through our gym and through what we do now. And that's not a made up number. It's thousands and over 1,000. And the funny thing was people would come in and say, what is your goal? And I say this just to bring awareness, even if it's to one person, to just say, yeah, let me own this. But I'd say, well, so what is your goal? And they're like, I'd like to lose 40, 50 pounds. And once we established that was the true number of what they wanted to lose, and the reasons behind why that was important, Well, walk me through what a day-to-day looks like for you, a consistent day.
Mm-hmm.
Not an ideal impress the teacher day, but an ideal day.
Yep.
And they'd walk me through an impress the teacher day. And I'd be like, okay, so this is how you eat. Oh, yeah. What about this? Nope, never. Oh, rarely. Cocktail? No. Once a month, you know. And I'm like, so then my question would be, if you're going to lie to me, then I'm going to put you on Front Street. And I'd say, so what do you think is contributing to the extra 50 pounds that's on you? Because your nutrition's dialed in. So what do you think is contributing to the 50 pounds? Yeah. Is it the 2 cups of broccoli? Or is it the bowl of spinach? Like, which one do you think is, and I know it sounds like being an asshole, but I'm contending for this person. Yeah. They're coming to me to want to get to a desired goal as me as a professional. So I was contending for them in that moment. I'm not going to coddle them. Their whole life and their whole people around them, their team was coddling them to stay where they are and supporting their bullcrap.
So good.
So in that moment, I'm just there to help you win. So I'm going to contend for you. So I bring that up is just to say, if you're listening and you're hearing, like, number 1 was what? Build your team. Number 2, be consistent, patient. Number 3 is supplementation. But I want to say that supersedes all of that is being honest with yourself. That's what that was all about.
Yes. So, be honest with yourself. What is it? We have a friend that says, thou shalt not fool thyself.
Yeah. But you know what? And I'll be vulnerable because, you know, I think in like a collective in society, I would say that we definitely never really drank a lot. Mm-hmm. If I wanted to tout that. However, I realized in this journey recently how much we did drink more than we thought we did.
Yes.
Alcohol.
Mm-hmm. Well, and knowledge is power. So when you inform yourself on the effects of alcohol on the metabolism, the body, and processing and all the things, then you can understand from a perspective of, oh yeah, for us valuing our health and wanting to be a certain place, we probably did drink a little too much.
So it's awareness, and that's why I'm bringing that up. So I was aware that, wow, because then we said, oh, let's, and this is how you create it too, is it was like, we were like, okay, we drank on Saturday, and this is hypothetical. Drank because actually I haven't drank in 3 weeks. We were in Nashville 3 weeks ago and I haven't had an alcoholic beverage because I got goals trying to get to that 11%. And I want to push everything in my favor. But it was kind of like on Saturday, it was kind of like, oh, well, we drank. Let's see when we drink again. And literally like 3-4 days in, we'd be like, oh, how many days it's been? And we were kind of like counting like, oh, no, it was like a week ago. No, baby, it was 4 days ago.
Yeah.
So then the point of that, again, is to bring awareness because you can fool yourself. Mm-hmm. And so many people are fooling themselves. And when I have conversations with them, I just want to look at them and be like, you are fooling yourself. You have sold yourself a lie and it's not serving you. So,
then something you can do is, because awareness is key. I think a lot of times we fall into the trap of fooling ourselves because we have very little awareness about the reality of how often that offense is to your body. You know, basically your story of us with our casual drinking here and there. Mm-hmm. But it's like also too, it's like coming off of paleo and, you know, really embracing that mindset, but then also kind of merging to where we do have some complex carbs again. And there's different things where that mindset of eating higher fats with having some complex carbs doesn't really mix, but it didn't seem like a lot until you start tracking some things and you start becoming aware. Like you said, you became aware of how often we were actually having a drink. Mm-hmm. We started using MyFitnessPal.
Oh, MyFitnessPal was the best.
Which I couldn't believe the first day you're like, how do you use it? I was like, well, you're going to track your food?
I've never used MyFitnessPal. I always worked off of a block system. Those of you who don't know, Sears.
Zone.
The Zone, yeah.
Is it Zone? Yeah.
Yeah, it was a Zone. It was the block system. Anyway, I'm not going to get into that.
Yeah.
But once you understood the block,
easy.
It was so easy. So MyFitnessPal, though, I would encourage you guys to get that too, because it'll bring in awareness, because I always did run off of a high fat diet. And as I've been elevating my carbs, I didn't adjust the fat. At least I thought I did.
Me too.
And I was like, whoa, like I'm getting a little fluffy here. I was getting fluffy and going opposite direction I wanted to go. So I picked up MyFitnessPal and I realized I kept going over my fat and my macronutrients every day. And I was having a struggle to get them down. Like I was just like, how do I do this? Like, cause I had habitually been on a higher fat, which is cool. It can work. So I'm not arguing that either way. But MyFitnessPal brings awareness again, as we're staying on this awareness thing. And it's helped me tremendously.
Yeah.
Thank you too.
So track it. Yeah. Because we were getting a lot of fat we ate fattier meats, which if you're paleo and you're not eating grains and complex carbs, that's fine. But if you're going to, you can't do that. You're going to have your high fat.
You got to stay in your lane. If you're going to go high fat and grass fed and you're going to go the paleo method, then you can't bring in the processed carbs and all that because it's a cocktail for destruction as far as like from a blood profile. Mm-hmm. So I feel like I'm starting to geek out a little bit on the nutrition.
I love geeking out on the nutrition.
Well, I don't want to beat this topic, but just so people understand, like you can lose weight too. A caloric deficit is going to help you lose weight. You can do it by eating cheeseburgers and chocolate cake. Mm-hmm. If you're in a caloric deficit, you will lose weight. It's science. Now, it will not be sustainable.
Right.
It will not be long term.
And it may not impact your blood work in a favorable way either.
Right.
Or your muscle
So the question we always would ask, and I'm going to ask you if you're listening to this podcast, is if losing weight or losing fat or improving your composition is a goal of yours, then what's more important? Losing the weight, losing the fat, or keeping it off? And it's going to be keeping it off. And I say that because to put in a contrast that losing it, you could do it by eating cheeseburgers and chocolate cake if you stay in a caloric deficit. I'll say that again, but it's not going to be sustainable. It's going to get weight off. So the sustainable way is going to go to number 2, which was consistency and patience.
Yep.
And understanding that you're building to what you like to say is a building block of health long-term. Mm-hmm. Like it's a marathon. You got to stop looking at it as a sprint. Now, I'll add one more twist to it though. It's like the program that we actually coach, because let's say you have to, like your goal is 40 pounds, 50 pounds, 60 pounds, or anything in that. I'm just using those as it could be 30 pounds. It could be 100 pounds. You can get into a caloric deficit because some people say, oh, how low can you go calorically? Well, if you look at like, how much should I geek out on this?
Go. Well, I think this is very important because people, when you understand nutrition, when you understand fitness, when you understand the human body and how we adapt to these things, then for me too, that's when I'm like, okay, this is worth it. I need to work at this because this supports my long-term plan.
So I'll pivot on this because I don't want to bore people. I'll say this. I think this will be an interesting way of saying this.
You're not listening to me.
So we're like 40 in.
We're like geeking out.
So
on
let
this
me
for
say
sure.
this, because I think if it helps one person, then that's good. Is the visual of it. So like for the program we have, as far as calorie wise, like when we start people, it's like training wheels for people. Mm-hmm. So it puts training wheels on you.
Yep.
While you're learning, you're getting victories. It's easy. We're teaching you how to prepare a lean and green healthy meal. Mm-hmm. And then the other meals where it's supplementation. They're dialed in nutritional profile to exactly what you need. Now, some people look at that. Now, the point of that program is to transition people to eating the way we do or whatever supports their goals long-term, as much whole foods and supplementations that they need. But most people will come in from outside looking in before having a discussion. They'll say, oh, that's low calorie. And that doesn't, like, I don't want to eat that for the rest of my life. It's like, well, no, one, it's a transitional program.
Yep.
It serves a purpose. Number 2, it's low calorie, maybe from what you're ingesting in your mouth. However, it's designed to have your body utilize fat as a resource, adipose tissue, as opposed to glucose.
It's a very specific metabolic process.
And when you take that spigot and you have that basically an inter-organ fuel exchange occur to where your body's not reliant on glucose as a fuel source. So that's kind of like when you eat and you feel your blood sugar drop. That's because that little glucose tank keeps going up and down, up and down. You fill it up with the carbs, you fill it up with whatever, the sugars, and you're dialed in on that. But if you take that fuel spigot and you get it to where you're running and operating off of fat as a fuel source efficiently, you have hundreds and hundreds of thousands, depending on how much fat you have, reserve. I'd rather burn through that sustainable energy source
Yep.
and constantly having to fill up the tank of the glucose, never tapping into the fat.
Yeah.
That's a science that like our program and the way if you eat appropriately.
Well, and that's
will
also
do.
the difference between your hamburger chocolate cake
Exactly,
program
100%.
is that while you lose weight, you will not be guaranteed that you won't be losing mostly muscle mass.
And we probably lost half the audience because it's totally geeked out and got a little bit.
I hope
if it helped
they took
one
notes.
person, that's what Dr. A said. He said if it helped one person, it was worth.
Yes,
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And hopefully they'll share and it'll help another person.
So the 3 things with the bonus was build your team, whatever that looks like. Build a team that's going to help. For me, it's like Humpty Dumpty, keeping back together, back in the game.
Trainers,
one at it.
coaches,
Consistency and
naturopaths,
patience.
whatever. Yeah.
3rd is supplements. And then I added a bonus was awareness.
That's good.
Was it?
100%. All right, friends.
Nice.
Until next time, we are the Freedom Parents.
You sure about that?
And we'll see. Yeah. I'm sure.
You look confused. All right.
See you next time.
Peace.